Have you ever been listening to a song and realised that something about it just seems oddly familiar? There's something about the lyrics or the tone that you know you've heard somewhere before, but you just can't place it. Well, it turns out that some pretty well-known songs are based off of equally well-known movies, and we've just never noticed it this whole time. Whether they're well-established classics or surprising niches, there's plenty of songs out there that only exist because of your favourite artist's fateful trip to the cinema. If you think about it, films are actually the perfect source of inspiration, with an infinite stock of well-developed characters and interesting plots. I mean, a really talented lyricist could probably pull an idea from any film, whether that's Gone with the Wind or Academy Award-nominated Boss Baby, which I really still can't quite believe is a thing. Anyway, this list is reserved for those god-tier movies that spawn tracks purely on the merit of inspiration. So without further ado, I'm Amy from WhatCulture, and here's 10 movies you didn't realise inspired songs. So starting us off at number 10 is the song Breakfast at Tiffanys by Deep Blue Something. Now okay, I can already hear you shouting at the screen something about how painfully obvious this one is, how it's clearly about breakfast at Tiffanys and that's literally the name of the song. Well, you're kind of wrong, and I was too. Now, it's obviously true that the title of the track is misleading, but have a little faith in me. It actually turns out that the inspiration for the song came from another popular Audrey Hepburn film, Roman Holiday. The 1953 classic tells a story of Anne, a young princess, and her brief love affair with a journalist whilst on a visit to Rome. I have to say, it's not the most inspiring plot, but something about it stuck with the lead vocalist of Deep Blue Something, Todd Pipes, and he was inspired to write the song. For some unknown reason, the band couldn't get on board with calling the song Roman Holiday, and so they just chose another Hepburn film to fill in the blanks. And so here we are today with the song Breakfast at Tiffanys that isn't written about breakfast at Tiffanys. Moving on to number 9, we have East Jesus Nowhere by Green Day. Now they say that inspiration can strike from anywhere, whether that's from a sound, a sight, or maybe even a random line from a random movie. Green Day's East Jesus Nowhere gets its name, believe it or not, from the 2007 coming-of-age comedy Juno. I really just didn't ever think that I would be saying a Michael Cera movie inspired Billy Joe Armstrong. In the film, 16-year-old high school student Juno accidentally gets pregnant by her best friend, the aforementioned Michael Cera. On deciding she wants to give the baby up for adoption, she travels a pretty long distance to give her ultrasound picture to the adoptive parents. Her stepmother is less than pleased with her decision to drive out to the middle of nowhere. She questions Juno's motives and drops the line, "You could have sent it to them. Why would you drive an hour out to East Jesus Nowhere?" Honestly, it's a pretty good line, and I'm a little upset that it hasn't been picked up into everyday vernacular, but it clearly made more of an impact on Billy Joe Armstrong, as it later appeared in Green Day's 8th album, 21st Century Breakdown. Now on to number 8, we have Brownsville Girl by Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan is the mind behind some of my absolute favourite songs. Songs like Hurricane or Masters of War that tell whole stories in a matter of minutes. Brownsville Girl is technically no different, it's just that the story it tells just so happens to have been borrowed from elsewhere. The story in question comes from The Gunfighter, the 1950 Henry King Western. In fact, Dylan didn't even really try to make the inspirations for the song ambiguous. The first lines are literally, "There was a movie I seen one time, about a man riding across the desert. It starred Gregory Peck." Really, one of the best wordsmiths of all time, and that is how you open your song. Anyway, the start of the song basically spells out the whole plot of Gunfighter, start to finish. It then goes on to tell a vaguely confusing tale about Dylan's Brownsville Girl, which, in fairness, seems to be partially influenced by the Gunfighter's lead man and his strained relationship with his estranged wife. Whilst nowhere in the lyrics does Dylan actually say the name of the film he's talking about, anyone who has even a vague idea of its plot can instantly draw the connection. Moving on rapidly now, we've reached number 7, where we have Matilda and Leon from Alt J. Let's just cut to it. Alt J are weird. They've always been a bit weird, and ever since that video where those two guys showed us how to make an Alt J song, things have never been the same. If we take this into consideration, it's probably not so surprising then that Alt J have not one, but 2 songs inspired by, of all things, the 1994 French action thriller Leon the Professional. Most people on hearing their track Matilda would assume it references the 1996 film of the same name. However, the lines repeated throughout are actually pulled from Leon the Professional, and the Matilda in question is the 12-year-old assassin's assistant, which I've definitely always thought was a great job for a 12-year-old, a real first step onto the career ladder. Whilst this is from Matilda and this is for Matilda are exact lines from the film, other bits of the song reference scenes and themes from throughout the story. For example, "Put the grenade pin in your hand so that you understand who's boss" isn't a direct quote, but does reference the very satisfying ending to the film. Alt J's other Leon-themed song has an equally uninspiring title, this time just Leon. Obviously about the film's main character, Leon, the song talks about his life and his relationship to his tiny protege. Some would say the lyrics "You're a pro, kill 'em all, save her now because she loves you, Leon" are a bit on the nose, but when you name your song about Leon the Professional, Leon, what else can we expect from you? On to number 6 now, we have Only by 9 Inch Nails. Off of their 4th album, the song quickly climbed to the top of the Billboard Modern Rock chart and sat there comfortably for quite a while. It's a pretty well-known track amongst fans, but what probably isn't so well known is the song's inspiration came from David Fincher's 1999 Fight Club. As soon as you know this, it all falls into place. The lyrics fit really well with the themes explored in the film, and the line "You were never real to begin with, I just made you up to hurt myself" does perfectly sum up the entire film in one fell swoop. Another interesting thing to note is that the music video to the song is actually directed by David Fincher himself, and some people say that the mundane office objects coming to life is a subtle reference to Fight Club. At number 5, we have Fugazi with Walk-In Syndrome. It's understood that Walk-In Syndrome is somewhat of a character reflection based on Christopher Walken's role in Annie Hall. Walken plays Annie Hall's brother Dwayne, a distant and semi-psychotic man who seems to exist just outside the realms of normality. In one conversation with main character Alvy, he explains that he often has the urge to just drive his car into oncoming traffic. Incidentally, this probably isn't the kind of thing you should admit to just before offering someone a lift to the airport. Walk-In Syndrome features the lines, "Steer into the headlights like the dead light of the last sun you'll see," clearly a reference to Dwayne's nihilistic musings on the constant closeness of death. Anyway, moving on to number 4, we have the Ataris with So Long Astoria. So Long Astoria is the 4th album by the Ataris, which includes the song of the same name. The album was their debut with their new label, so obviously the only sensible thing to do was to name it in honour of one of the best love movies around. The Goonies. The film is about a group of friends from the Boondocks area of Astoria, Oregon. Now, Astoria is a real place in real Oregon, but if you listen to the lyrics of the song and throughout the album, it becomes pretty clear why people think it's based on the Goonies. The song's lyrics reflect on relationships and dreams and friendships of youth that don't necessarily stick around. And if you consider that for a lot of people, The Goonies is one of their most treasured childhood films, it actually makes a lot of sense to link the two. Changing up the mood now, we have number 3 with The White Stripes and The Union Forever. If anyone just so happens to know what Jack White's favourite film is, then you probably already know what this song is about. And if you have a keen ear for quotes, then you'll be having an absolute field day with this one. The song is about Charles Foster Kane, the wealthy newspaper magnate from Citizen Kane, and as such it includes loads of lines straight from the film. In the first verse, we hear the line, "Sure, I'm CFK, but you gotta love me," and we go on to hear several more famous quotes and a favourable description of the titular character. One verse's lyrics are taken directly from a song sung about Kane in the movie itself. "There is a man, a certain man, and for the poor you may be sure that he'll do all he can." Who needs to write a song when the movie did it for you? And now coming in at number 2, we have Iron Maiden with Man on the Edge. If we put the title of the song next to the title of the film it was inspired by, they read together almost as a story. Man on the Edge is based on Falling Down, the 1993 thriller depicting essentially a man's total breakdown. William Foster, a recently divorced father who's lost his job, snaps when his air conditioning fails as he sits in a traffic jam. He abandons his car, walks into town, and from there on out just causes havoc really. Stealing and stabbing and blowing things up. You know how it is, a usual response to a traffic jam. The song's opening line sums up the scenario right away, as a story about a briefcase, a lunch, and a man on the edge. Now, finally saving the best for last, we have Aerosmith with Walk This Way. Now, I have to admit, this one definitely surprised me. It's a track I've heard a million times on the radio or in movies that I just haven't really given a moment's thought to. The inspiration for the song actually came from a trip to the cinema in 1974, where Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein was showing. Apparently a particular joke in the film stuck in the minds of Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, where whenever a character says walk this way, they aren't talking about direction, but actually the literal manner of walking. Now, it seems like a stupid joke, and well, it is a stupid joke, but it accidentally led to the creation of one of Aerosmith's most well-known and loved songs. So, I guess we'll let them have it. And that's it for our list of 10 movies you didn't realise inspired songs. If you know any more that should have been on this list, then let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget to check out WhatCulture.com for more lists and articles like this every single day. I've been Amy from WhatCulture, and if anyone needs me, I'll be working on my next album, entirely inspired by Adam Sandler's Click.